Hello there, people, listeners of the Hungry Podcast. So I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Louis Collins and James Tyler, co-founders of LoCal or Local Beer. So, chaps, thank you so much. I'm excited to talk all about your big array of listings. How many listings have you got? About 3?
Is that the start? Do you want to do that again? Collins, not Collins. Yeah. LoCal. Absolute burn.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Your shitty little podcast. Oh, hungry.
Cameras aren't even working.
I just had to get it in there. But you've got a lot of customers. 1, 2.
We're going, are we?
Oh yeah, let's go. But no, look, chaps,
Start that again, you prick.
I think let's just roll with it.
No, mate, I'm not with that. How many customers you got? 3.
Ooh, I can take that bit out. I can take that bit out.
Honestly, I think you have to roll again, mate.
Alright, we'll do another one. I think that's funny, leaving that in. But anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Hello there, people and listeners of the Hungry Podcast. Today I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Louis Collins and James Tyler to the podcast, who are co-founders of Local Beer, who make low-calorie, light and cloudy pale ale, low ABV, low calories, have won a host of listings at loads of pubs, restaurants, bars. I think they're going to be doing amazing things to the category, and I love their beer. We've done quite a few events. Just did one up in Manchester. We'll be doing more in London. So, chaps, thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome, mate. It's a pleasure.
I think we should keep the other intro, but anyway. So what I want to start with is you, Jimmy boy.
Oh.
So you did stand-up comedy.
Well, I mean, I did it once when I was at uni, and probably never again, to be honest. Well, I did it I think 3 times in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I still want to talk about that.
Okay, we can talk about it.
I think it sets the scene nicely for some of the things you want to do. I think it like most people don't have the bollocks to stand up and do stand-up comedy. Talk me through your first set, paint the picture, set the scene. Say we've got, 10 minutes before you're going on the stage. They're about to call up James Tyler.
Wow, amazing question. Honestly, I did that when I was 18, 19 maybe, so almost 20 years ago now. And it was part of... I did a...
I don't know what I'm laughing.
I don't know either.
I did a course.
To the mic?
Yeah, man. I did a course up at Northumbria Uni, up in Newcastle, which was script writing and kind of theatre drama studies. And part of my coursework was I had to everyone had to do a performance of some sort. And I just was like, okay, this is brilliant. I've always wanted to sort of write comedy and do some sort of comedy performance. So I'm going to do stand-up. I went and spoke to the local comedy store up there. And I was like, look, I'm sort of in my last year of uni. We need to do a piece. It's got to be a certain length. So I wrote it and went to perform it. And what I didn't know, I just had no idea. I was so green. Was that people do sort of 5 minutes of stand-up for 5 years and like hone 5 minutes. And I went up and did 20-minute stand-up for my first time, which is like ludicrous. You talk to any comedian, they'll be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I bombed. I just bombed throughout, I think. I think maybe there was one gag that did all right about sort of, because it was the most truthful. I think it was about school and maths or something. I can't really remember the joke.
Did you gag about school and maths?
Something about set squares. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes.
That was one part. I can remember. You get up there and you do you get like 2 minutes in and you think it's been an hour and you realise, oh God, it's total silence.
Sounds awful.
It was awful. Yeah, I'd never do it again. Honestly, it sort of put me off. But
so what's the feeling in here? As you're talk about where. So you're in the club. What does the club look like? What does it feel like? Is it busy? What night is it?
It's busy. Maybe about, I don't know, 60, 70 people in there, I think it was.
That's quite a lot of people.
Quite a lot of people. And I was in between professionals. So there was like...
Well, how to not get into comedy by James Tyler.
Yeah, totally. It put me off.
Hell.
I mean, I did go into comedy after that, but in sort of like behind the scenes development, producing and stuff. And I was sort of scouting young comedians for a few years, which was great. Met some amazing people who are now doing like... Now they're huge, but I saw...
Such as?
Well, I think I saw Joe Lycett's first ever stand up, and then we got him to do so. I think we were in a sketch together, the first thing. People like Joel Dommett, who's now huge, sort of presenter, Lou Sanders. Yeah, that kind of era of comedians I was working with a lot. But great, I love comedy. It was my sort of first love. I think working it put me off a bit. But
take me back to that night then. Sorry, I interrupted, but like in terms of setting the scene. 60 people.
Yeah, 60. I think a few of my course mates came down to support, and honestly, I wish they hadn't, because that just added the pressure on. And yeah, it was. I think the sort of 5 minutes before we went on, just pure panic. Just like your heart just starts beating. You're thinking, oh my god, okay, I'm going to need to get out of this pretty sharpish. I wonder if I can just tell her I don't want to do it anymore, and tell my course leader, because the guy who was running the course was down there as well. Like sat there with his marker.
Sounds awful.
It was so stupid. I think it was just a mixture of arrogance and like confidence of youth or something. But I just thought, oh, this will be easy. And I think I actually got ushered off after 15 minutes. I didn't get to finish my set because I think the woman sort of running the night was like, "You're bombing too hard, mate. You've got to come off. You're ruining my night, basically."
What does it feel like when you bomb?
Like the end of the world. And not only that, I remember that there was a comedian that came, like a professional comedian that came on after me, who just ripped me. His first sort of 5 minutes of the first bit of his set, he was just taking the piss out of me. It was horrible.
That's grim.
Yeah. But if I'd have known how to actually get into comedy, I probably would have stuck at it a bit more and done kind of smaller sets and just tried to hone in like basically just 3 gags and just sort of build it around that.
And then what was the process of like... Because the reason I wanted to start with that is because I interviewed a guy called Rory Sutherland, and we were talking about how too much purpose, purpose is the buzzword, too much purpose can make brands boring. And I think, not saying every brand should try and be funny, but like there's these little touch points of like moments of surprise and magic in humour mainly are like gorgeous little bits of brand building that not everyone can do. Not saying you guys are doing that, but like just we'll talk about like the strategy with the comedy and stuff later on if we can.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea. But let's go back a few steps, and you guys had another business.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, means the absolute world to me. I'd be so grateful for a small favour, please. It is so hard growing a YouTube channel. It is so bloody hard. If you please enjoy these videos, just click the subscribe button. More subscribers equals bigger guests equals better conversations, and hopefully you can learn more as you build your food and drink brand. Thank you so much.
We did, yeah. So I met James at an advertising agency about 15 years ago. It's pretty much my first job straight out of uni. And yeah, got on really well. Then we actually went on to run a business together called Canvas. So we basically worked with artists to make wearable art. So we'd do things like silk scarves, pocket squares, socks, all limited run, designed by artists that we love. Which was great fun.
Yeah, I think it was just, we just both knew we wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and it didn't really matter what at that point. So yeah. we were sort of playing around with ideas. I think you first came to me with an idea about, it was called iTie. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he was like, I've got this idea, it's called iTie, and it's a website where you can match your eye colour we take the exact eye color of your eye and match it to a tie.
Fucking hell.
Forgot about eye tie.
Yeah, and I just
Why would we invite that? That sounds genius.
no, it's it's terrible. I was like, definitely we're not doing that.
I think you're right.
That's probably
We
a good
always-
gag you could have done at a stand-up gig.
Better than this. Yeah, I think you're right. We just always wanted to do something.
What was the why behind eye tie? I think it's interesting because like, there's actually a
Apparently-
serious point here, right? No matter what, you need a lot of lead to find gold. You need a lot of bad ideas to stumble upon good ideas. Like that's a creative truism, and I think what people think is creativity is this moment, this spark of fucking genius. It's not. It's thousands of not paintballs, but thousands of lead thrown at the wall that doesn't work, and then you just see the small slither at the end, which is potentially local. But yes, what was the why behind eye tie?
No, it's just a silly idea. Apparently, matching your tie to your eye colour is a good fashion tip. Brings out your eyes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And now you're interested.
But that was like the kernel of the thought of what could we do? Maybe there's something in fashion, or maybe something in material, and that's how it started. So we that just developed, and I was like, well, hang on, like I'm working with a lot of illustrators in my role. I've met a lot of illustrators. I sort of know who the ones I'd want to work with are. So let's maybe try and work that in, and maybe it's more of a collaboration. So that became Canvas, which was, can we use fashion as a kind of blank canvas where we can invite artists to put their work on it under a theme. So
It's great fun.
Any examples of like how that manifested?
Yeah, our first collection was called The Art of Seduction, and it was a series of...
You're looking right at him.
I'm looking at
I'm joking.
you were the spark. And we worked with, I think it was 6 artists. The first run did like 20 or 30 pocket squares and briefed them all. That was the brief, like The Art of Seduction. And they all came back with amazing different designs.
That framed up there is actually a silk scarf from it.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that was a Japanese artist.
Yeah, for listeners, it's like a pink scene with a banana on it. It's a podcast, man. They're not going to be able to see that. It looks really, really good, mate. Yeah.
But no,
Glad you got into beer, mate. No, I'm joking. That does look really good.
It was great fun, and we actually ended up opening up a physical shop in Soho, just off Carnaby Street, which was so much fun. But eventually COVID came along, shut the shop, and we sort of decided at that point to, take what we had and move it into something else, which eventually turned out to be LoCal.
So how were you... What was the business model? Like, how did you make money? So you paid the artists, like, if we lift up the bonnet and look at how the machine works, if you want to call it that, how does that work?
Well, probably quite naive in that there probably wasn't a business model there. It was more just like a paddling pool of a business. Like, let's go through all the motions of a business, and then it wasn't just our collection. We reached out to other brands that were doing similar stuff and became almost like a a marketplace for fashion. So we had different brands with different artists. But
I don't think ever it was a sort of sustainable business. Like the margins were never there.
What did you learn about creativity doing that business and just being so surrounded by artists? Like, what did that...
Oh, it was just so much fun. I mean, just the process, the production, the getting stuff made, actually having something tangible that was ours, inviting people to the shop. We had like a couple of launch parties with our friends, just having a location on Carnaby Street, basically, which was such a meeting point for people. So we're constantly coming in and out. Working with these other brands. We worked with jewelry brands and a sort of disposable camera brand and jacket brand. And actually next door was the Wax, the fashion brand, their first shop.
Wax.
Yeah, they use sort of jackets, and we became very friendly with them. So it was nice just to see their business grow as well. And I think that gave us a sort of bug to go on to do more stuff.
Yeah.
What was the most interesting piece you saw? Interesting thing you saw during that time?
What do you mean?
Two dogs fucking in the street.
I mean, like, the most interesting piece of art. Like, most interesting thing that's created through the amalgamation of art and fashion.
Yeah, I think that one framed is my favourite. It's called Booty Call. It's by this absolutely bonkers Japanese artist called Yoko Honda. That's sort of her interpretation of the art of seduction.
Right.
Yeah, we sort of did it. I guess you would call it a gold, silver, bronze tier of like quite famous artists, and then up and coming, and then sort of unheard
Is
of.
she quite famous?
I think she was in the.
She's got a lot of Instagram followers.
I'm not sure what she's
100,000.
Haven't followed her for a while. I'm not sure what she's doing.
It's just mad how I was speaking to a guy, I think I was telling you about this on the train up to Manchester, this guy called Oliver Lloyd, who did history of art, then set up Great British Chefs, and then went into, now does a load of work with brands, and actually created like a innovation creativity hub that was part of Unilever. So did it for like big brands like Dove, Lynx. And we were talking about how art moves into brands, and like not all art, like not everyone buys brands because it's got meaning. Like you're not buying Jif rubber gloves because there's
For
some
what?
sort of, for like for a booty call.
Yeah.
But for like there's no meaning in that. But like with brands like Nike, you buy it for there's meaning in it. Camden Town Brewery, in terms of putting this through beer, like there's meaning. Obviously the product tastes really fucking good, but like there's other beers just as good. But there's a depth and a meaning in that. And I think what's fascinating speaking to you guys is going back on your journey, like setting the scene before LoCal, is this theme of art, comedy, creativity, and then brand building. What are some of the lessons from creativity and art that you're applying to LoCal? And maybe we could talk about, I think the first thing to go into is how you actually won the co-op listing with the pub around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of bigger question there is, I think we both came from advertising. I'm a creative, and Louis Sue.
I'm a creative, yeah.
I'm a creative. Well, I'm an art director, copywriter. That's what you call a creative. It does sound wanky, doesn't it?
Mate, I'm a creative.
But yeah, I think a lot of people from advertising do go into brand building because you just see so many brands coming through. Like, you know, it's very rare you work on something for more than kind of 3 months. So you know, maybe you're working on 5 different projects at a time. So throughout a year, you're working on so many different brands from so many different sectors, meeting the people that have started it, and realizing, oh, actually, maybe I could do that. Or
Who did you meet in that period? Either of you guys, like, who are now big brands?
Well, we launched. Oh God. To be fair, not many that were sort of small and became big. We were just working on brands, I guess, that were kind of mid to big anyway. So the product itself is super important, but if you can't communicate what it is very simply and clearly to your consumer very quickly, then you've lost the battle. So I think it's how do we edit our product to be the cleanest communication to our customers. So we tried to do that from the name to the kind of log line to the aesthetic to the logo, very considered. Like, you know, we know how important it is. So at this stage, it's like, I mean, I don't want to put a number on it, but 80% brand, 20% product probably.
And because that's interesting, because I always say don't spend more time on the product than the brand, because I think it's much easier to begin with, because it's much easier to get the brand right later along the line.
Well, I think that's good advice if you're flexible. I think what happens to a lot of people who are starting out is they
Get so set on a name for some reason or a look and feel that they're just not prepared to flex on, which then it doesn't matter what you do with your product. If you that is a great way to do it. If you're like, you know what, this is just the kind of brand for now, I don't mind if we change the name, the look and feel, who we're targeting, all that stuff is kind of flexible.
But with you guys, it wasn't flexible.
Oh, well, it was at the start. I mean, we did so much strategy before we even sort of went to... We kind of had visualized what it was going to be and how it was going to sit on shelf and where it was going to be positioned before we even went to a brewer.
I think, we went through 2 or 3 designers to get to one that we really liked. I mean, to get to a brand where we are now probably took us over a year. And a lot of back and forth. But I think you need both, don't you? Like,
I'm not diminishing the product at all. It's more just I just think if we weren't clear about how we could sell it, there wasn't any point in doing it.
Yeah, it's like the chicken and the egg, isn't it? It's like the issue, I suppose, is I see so many brands focus on the bells and whistles and the packaging that the product's no good. And you don't get that repeat purchase. It looks great on shelf, very like kind of the art of seduction, right? It's like, oh, try me. I think Perry calls it foreplay, right? On shelf, great packaging's like foreplay. It's like, oh, come and try me. But if it doesn't taste good, it's like going back home and having an awful, time in the sack. You're not going back again.
Yeah.
I mean, happen a lot, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All touching over it. And so that's why I think focusing, spending loads of time getting that product so banging.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then what's interesting is why I love doing these, because you learn, you can pull it and tease it so much. The other side of this is being laser focused with the brand, the message, like how it's going to, where it's going to sit on shelf, the strategy. It's 2 sides of the same coin. Really. You need them both singing and dancing together. It's just which one comes first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that because that's our background. I mean, we're not brewers. We're not sort of like, we didn't fall in love with the process of creating the product. We fell in love with the kind of positioning and the brand and we just, we love beer. That was our kind of in. We loved the product.
That sort of happened first, didn't it? And then we sort of moved into product.
Because you were like running around Hampstead Heath, weren't you?
Yeah.
What's the genesis of the business? And what were the other names before local or LoCal?
We actually got local pretty early on. It started back in one of the lockdowns. Myself, James, and there's a third partner as well who put in money early on and sort of not as involved in the day to day. But we were, we were drinking too much, eating too much, just generally being pretty unhealthy. So we decided, we all lived near Hampstead Heath, that we would meet up at Hampstead Heath, go for a run. And we'd usually end up by having a couple of beers after the run, which was like about as much fun as you could have back in the lockdown. But we quickly realised that even having a couple of beers, you're actually putting on more calories than you've burnt during the run itself. And that, when you have the context of having just done a 5K run, it just doesn't make sense. So, we tried drinking hard seltzers, slimline gin and tonics, but sometimes you just need a beer. And there wasn't a beer out there for that occasion. And I remember James, he literally asked the question, where is the Diet Coke beer? And that was the light bulb moment where we were like, right, I think there's a big opportunity here.
Yeah, I love that. I actually wrote about that in my newsletter this week, the Diet Coke of beer, and how important analogy is in getting niche categories to speak mainstream language. Because ultimately, that seasoned drinks by Ben Branson's new thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen that on LinkedIn and Instagram? It's basically bitters that you put in a cocktail. I'd seen the thing on the shelf. There's a big brand that's been around for yonks. So you can basically put it into your drink and it makes it taste better. A super niche category. How often are people buying that? Really and truly.
Yeah.
What Ben's done is he's stolen the semiotics. Do you know semiotics? Like the so like a hot tap red and blue semiotics, like traffic light semiotics. I don't know, some fucking shit I was reading about. Anyway, but what is super interesting is they'd stolen the cues or stolen the semiotics from salt and pepper. People don't know what bitters is. Season your drink. Black for pepper goes in dark drinks. White for salt goes in light drinks. Bang, it makes sense. Diet Coke of beer. Bang, it makes sense.
Immediately.
what's his name? Daniel Weiner, Hexclad, absolutely smashed it. Gordon Ramsay's invested. Reinventing frying pans, or not just frying pans, cookware. The Rolls Royce of frying pans.
Yeah, great.
You just get it straight away.
Yeah.
And I think for challenger brands, especially in niche categories where it's like so hard to like, we're this prebiotic or we're low fat, we're low chocolate with whatever, like rat's piss in it. I mean, it could be anything. There's so niche.
Yeah.
If you can use analogy or semiotics is harder. You can speak. Suddenly buyers get it, because I think you said to the co-op straight away with a Diet Coke of beer, bosh, we understand it. So and I think there's a lot you can really just keep playing with that.
I think that's something that we've taken from our advertising days as well. It's just like, you know, as an art director, creative. Sorry.
Hashtag creative.
Hashtag creative.
Hashtag he's wearing Vijas. Hashtag he's got a necklace.
Says, actually, vegan says.
Cactus, not leather.
Yeah, no, you get you have. Yeah.
Are they Vijas?
Yeah, no, they're Says.
There's actually another brand.
Yeah.
Are they like the challenger brand for Vijas?
I don't really know. I just saw a guy wearing them and I thought they were really nice. So I got them myself. To be fair, they're falling apart a bit.
I'm just brand loyal to Air Force Ones.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, it's just you know, creative ideas. You know, like you were saying at the start, it's you just throw as much as you can at the wall. I mean, when I'm briefed, I'm probably thinking like, just from my experiences, just get the shit ideas out of the way. Think of the stupidest idea. Think of the worst idea. Think of the one that's you're going to be most embarrassed about saying. Write that down, and then you just get all that out there. So you're not worried after that, and then it's just hopefully good stuff. But you just
you
go
need
and
a lot
then
of lead to find gold.
Totally, it's you got to put a lot of stuff up and then edit really. And I think, like you're saying with the brand, it's the best stuff. I think is the simpler stuff. It's how can you tell your nephew or your grandma? You know, it needs to be that simple. You can say it over a table very clearly, where they can take that away and then tell someone else. So getting it down to that very sort of bite-size selling point, I think, is really...
Again, back to the Oliver Lloyd, because sometimes you have a conversation, it's like, wow, he was taught by someone really senior at Unilever, the knock trick. It's just say you're a brand, like knock, like not who's there. I know this is some sort of comedy thing here, but it's not that. It's when you knock on the door, what is your brand? And you've got like literally, as if imagine someone's that's what it's got to be like on shelf.
Yeah.
So with you guys, Diet Coke of beer or local, I know you keep saying local, but also LoCal. Delighted to announce the extension of our partnership with the wonderful Billy and Paul from Mackenzie Jones, but even more exciting, they have just launched a brand new brand as part of Mackenzie Jones called MKJ Ignite. MKJ Ignite is a recruitment firm which specialises full shebang, focus entirely on challenge brand space. They work with some incredible brands: Lucky Saint, Good Race, Purdy and Fig, Hunter and Gather, and Real Superfoods. They can support with your hiring needs across all levels, top to bottom, junior entry-level jobs, all the way through up to MD and CEO level. So if you're looking for a field sales stomper, a sales wizard, an ops guru, a supply chain sensei, you name it, MKJ Ignite can help you out. And look, if you're looking to wet your whistle, ignite your curiosity, then check out the poddy we recorded with them back in July, laden with wisdom, all about like do's and don'ts of hiring and like how to create the perfect job description. You will love it. Guys, are you ready? There is gonna be some absolutely, totally, brilliantly bonkers next level madness coming your way today. Are you ready to take your brand to a whole new stratosphere for free? Imagine connecting your product to a digital world through a simple smartphone scan. You know the drill, scan it, bish bash bosh, you're away. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the magic of the new GS1 powered QR codes. These next generation barcodes act as a gateway to a world of endless possibilities. They connect your product's unique identity to multiple online sources of enriched real-time content. Why on planet Earth should you be getting your mitts on these GS1 powered QR codes? Well, look, very, very simple, mate. GS1 will help you drive revenue, upsell and cross-sell your amazing products, boost your bottom line. Yes, please. Where do I sign? Enhance customer engagement. Look, delight your customers with dynamic content that captivates and keeps them coming back for more. Please, sir, can I have some more? Yes, you can. Comply with regulations. Look, you want to be building your brand. You don't want to be knee-deep wading through a deep river of legislation, aggravation. These barcodes allow you to stay ahead of the curve. Look, don't allow this beautiful boat of boundless opportunity to sail away into the molting sunset. Be on that boat. Join GS1's UK's free pilot program today. Yes, it's completely free. There will be a link in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that was definitely considered as well, because we're working with only local breweries to make our. We don't have one site where we make our beer. We want to work with local breweries around the UK to kind of continue. Like, I think 80 breweries closed down last year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think 400.
So how do you get? Is that not a problem with consistency of liquid?
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge for us for sure. But
Right.
It's a challenge we want to take on. But it'll keep down our travel costs, carbon footprint, logistics. So if we can have sort of centralized hubs in local areas around the UK.
Yeah, we'll get on to that because that sounds super interesting. But in terms of this creativity piece, let's stay on this because I think it's for people listening. You don't need a huge budget to disrupt. And I think you've seen it in the big agency side, whereas lots of bad ideas allow you, and actually permission to have bad ideas allows you that gold to materialize. And then obviously you're doing it with local. But what are some of the examples from your big agency background, some of the big brands, where the consumer, like we will see like an end product or an end activation? We'll see the gold. What was the lead leading up to that?
I'll give you two examples, for instance, like Camden. This is Camden. I'll give you one Camden activation we did a couple of years ago. So I was at AB InBev for a couple of years in their in-house agency.
Was that when they were bought by? Sorry, they bought.
Yeah, so I think Camden had come into AB InBev maybe 3 years before I joined, maybe a couple of years before. I think Jasper had already left by that point, or we sort of crossed over by a couple of months or something. But yeah, so for instance, one idea was they're very much into Camden are very much into sport and women's sport, and the Euros were on at the time.
You had to just check that, mate. 'Cause I heard something going. Is that still on?
Yeah.
That's still on. Yeah. Yeah, I'm listening, mate.
Yeah. So Camden were into one of their kind of passion points is women's sport, and they're big advocates for women's football and have supported them in many different ways. And the Euros were on 2 years ago now, and this is not a good example, by the way. I'm just giving you an example because this was as you were saying, some ideas just come to you. This was one of those ones. So Beth Mead was killing it at the Euros. I think it was the game before the qualifiers, or she was leading. I think she got 5 or 6 or 7 goals or something. She was top scorer at that time, but there were still 3 more games to go. And I was just sitting on a plane, actually coming back from a holiday, and the headline just said like, Mead does it again, or Mead's on top. And I was just thinking like, oh, Mead's a beer, isn't it? I wonder if we could do something with Camden Town for that. So the next day I was like, spoke to the marketing director. I was like, I've got an idea. Can I quickly pitch it to you? I was like, let's do like a golden mead. Let's do a honey mead for Camden Town, and it should be for Beth Mead. So she was going up for golden, what's it called? Golden boot. Golden boot. And just immediately it clicked. They were like, yes, we're doing that. So that went into production immediately. I think we launched it on the day of the final. The beer, we did a big launch day down at Camden Town Brewery with the new beer. And I think from sort of idea to launch was only like 3 weeks. And yeah, it did really well. And obviously she went on to become like BBC Personality of the Year. So that was a great... that was just a really nice, organic idea, which just made sense.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say one thing and this all ties in. I'm reading Rick Rubin's book. I've talked about this loads it's actually in there about the creative act. So for listeners, Rick Rubin's music producer did Adele, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Beastie Boys, worked with Johnny Cash, so many people, like creative genius. And his book's The Creative Way. He basically talks about how creativity is literally all around you, but you've either got your blinkers on or your blinkers off. And it reminds me of what you said there, being on the plane and finding mead. Paul McCartney was on, and this links back weirdly to Season, Ben Branston drink. Paul McCartney was on a plane, and they asked him, do you want salt and pepper? And it just triggered off, right. And that's how I became the Sergeant Pepper in the Lonely Hearts Brigade, whatever it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the Beatles, so I've like read a lot on this. But what it shows is like the creativity is literally right in front of you. It's just about taking the blinkers off.
That was a real one-off. I'm not. Like, I was going to give you another example just to sort of prove the other side, which is. So we also had a brief. So that wasn't a brief. That was just a kind of always on idea, which just happened to be like the perfect timing. And then she did go on to get the Golden Boot, and it was all a success. But there was another. So I was also working for Stella Artois. They brought out Stella Artois Unfiltered, and the big agency that had done the big sort of 360 campaign. I think it was Mother actually. They'd done this whole au naturel. So in the advert, everyone's naked. You've probably seen the ad. It's like a French Riviera style setting, and the guy.
It's really my vibe, mate.
The guy comes down with a Stella Unfiltered, and everyone in the town is naked, and it's like life au naturel.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they'd set the kind of standard for the big 360 campaign, and then
What do you mean by 360 campaign?
so the above the line, so TV ad, all the posters.
What
the
is
kind
below
of,
the line?
Below the line is like anything sort of content wise or
Like social media,
yeah.
sort of
What about on the
digital
line?
adverts.
On the line.
Is there an on the line?
Should we create on the line?
I'm chatting shit. Yeah. I thought you were gonna try and make something up. Yeah, you're on the line.
yeah.
But it's true. As I ask these questions, because
Yeah,
a lot of people,
like,
I don't.
That's
really know what it
language
means.
that we.
Sorry, yeah,
we know.
Yeah.
You forget that. Yeah.
Who
Sorry,
came
so-
up with this line?
I don't know where that's from. Above the line. below the
ATL,
line.
mate. ATL.
Yeah, it is ATL. Yeah, people say
Yeah,
ATL.
ATL.
BTL.
TFL, OTL. Say it.
So yeah, the creative department was given the brief, like, how can we activate that idea, right? So how do we take au naturel as a concept
Yeah.
and do it and do a big activation in some way? And with that, I went away, and so there's other members of the team, and you go back and you pitch, or you come up with 50 ideas, you pitch 20, and maybe 3 go forward, and then you work on those. So that was an example where, I pitched a load of different ideas, like stuff to do with, London Fashion Week, and doing another Palace collaboration, and how can we, it's all different kind of ideas around nudity, which was actually a really fun brief. But the one that really stuck with people is, I just had this image, really simple image of Duke of Wellington pub sign. That kind of like hoity, pompous kind of visual of a duke, archduke in like a red jacket, right? And then next to it, I'd removed his clothes. And so the idea was like, can we strip UK pub signs? And that's where we sell the beer. And that was like loved by the team, but I had to work on that for about a year to get it to the place where it was buyable for them. So that was a real slog, but we got it done in the end, and it was great. But that's just another example of like throwing a load of ideas and then
Did it work? Have you got a
simplifying.
picture of that on your...
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, no, it went live earlier on this year. So we actually we got artists from another artist's idea. So we got great artists like Ruben Dangor and Bernadette Timko to kind of reimagine pub signs in the nude, and then we did a big launch event with like a gallery and sold it off. And I think we did what's her name, Jodie Kidd. She has her own pub, so we got her involved, and we made a nude version of her pub called the Half Moon, where she was doing a half moon. So that was a really fun campaign.
Are they actually just on... So it's the sign on the pub with the flap sort of...
Yeah, so we actually we made some real life pub signs.
Yeah.
And we also did sort of originals that we sold off for auction. And then we did posters for a more kind of, just so more people could get involved and buy the prints.
But I just tell that story because there was one example which was really quick. It just came to me and it was just like perfectly formed and it didn't need much more thought. It was just, let's design the can and let's think about a launch strategy. And then that one, it was like a whole...
That's probably more typical, isn't it? When you get a brief, you go through, like, as you say, a lot of lead to get to an idea that is actually doable.
Yeah, and even then it's like, yeah, that's a good idea, but what is the framework around that? What's the mechanics? How do we, what's the PR angle on that? Who can we get involved as an ambassador? How do we get a charity involved to make it more about giving back? And so just building like that visual everyone got, and it's how do you build on that to really selling the idea across all the channels?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between hard creativity and soft creativity. I mean, I wanted to actually ask this to Perry next week because I think you need hard creativity to get soft creativity. So it's a virtuous cycle, right? So, prime example, getting back to the Beatles. Have you seen the Get Back documentary?
I watched a bit of it.
So in that, there may be a song that, so, the song Get Back, boom, boom, whatever, I won't do it. But that song, they're bludgeoning their way through. It's like, boom, like, I'm not going to do the sounds because just bore everyone's senses, but that's hard creativity. That is hours in the studio, grafting away so hard, iterating, failing, but then you get a masterpiece, you get back. Conversely, soft creativity, and I've just put it, I don't know if this is actually a thing, I'm just beginning to think about it. I want to ask Perry about it next week. Soft creativity, Paul McCartney writes Yesterday in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they both work, but I genuinely believe you need the hard creativity, you need to be putting the work in for those soft moments to boil up, to bubble up.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. But Louis, do you want to talk about how as that kind of paradigm? I don't know why I said the word paradigm. Very weird. But this framework, mate, for hard creativity and soft creativity. So I don't know why that was funny. That's not funny. Hard creativity and soft creativity for how you run co-op and.
Yeah. So. It was a long journey for co-op and to Manchester. It started with us reaching out to buyers, which you do. Cold calling buyers is part of the job, and you've got to be creative and you've got to do things a little bit differently to stand out. So I think for co-op, what we did is we initially made them a playlist on Spotify. But each song told a story. So, first song would be Hello, Adele. Second song would be By His Name. Third song would be Do You Like Beer, etc. So, like, you look down, it tells you a little bit of a story.
Third song, Do You Like Beer, etc. Was that a song by Louis Collins?
Yeah, just uploaded it.
Do you like beer, etc.
But that got their attention. That is better than just a standard email. They like that, and then they're like, all right, cool, send us in some samples. So I think what we did then is we sent them a really nice package. We put an inflatable balloon in there. So when they opened it up, the balloon floated out and it had a ribbon with a cardboard cutout of Claudia, who's our mascot, who had sort of like a little message about our beer. So again, it's just sort of coming up with interesting creative ways of sort of demonstrating the brand and the product. That just makes buyers smile and, it is slightly different.
But what was some of the that's the gold, what was the lead? What was some of the, if you can remember, some of the crap ideas?
Well, I mean, you can usually filter them out yourselves quite quickly, right? You just know either that's going to be way too expensive or too much effort and time, and it's going to do the exact same thing that a Spotify playlist will do. So it's like, low cost, low effort, high impact is a pretty good way in.
You're right to come close to that.
Yeah, I think sort of, the lead is just sending standard emails to buyers, without anything interesting in there.
I'm trying to remember a bad idea. I think that's a good question. Like,
what I mean is some of the bad ideas to get hold of people. Like I remember once.
Well,
This is really cringe. I'm actually cringing so much thinking about this. At Manny Life, I was trying to get us into Whole Foods, and I tried everything under the sun. I tried I'd gone in with a box of 6 crosstown donuts and was like, "Hi mate, I'm camping in the food hall. I'll be down. Please see me for like 2 minutes." I brought a tent and stove with me, like wink face sort of thing. Like, it was really cringe, but got their attention. Get their attention. And but once I just this is like really fucking a bit weird. Is I thought, right, I'm gonna get the buyer a Joe Malone like hamper.
Perfume.
No, it was like a full blown like 200 quid hamper. I was like, oh my, and then I basically got home and I spent 200 quid at Joe Malone. I was like, oh my God, that is like the neediest thing, weirdest sort of neediest thing to say. So I ended up giving it to my mum. But
It's a fine line, isn't it?
It's such a fine line. But I always think it's my, yes, as I know we talked about above the line, not below the line, on the line, but it is a fine line. It's like, and you know, as we were speaking to with one of the buyers the other week, it's like brands can piss, but I won't say the brand name.
No, I think we've been guilty of that ourselves. Maybe.
How have you pissed buyers off?
Well, I think
What
just
are some
too
bad ideas?
persistent. To like, it gets
camera. Yeah.
like you need to. There's the fine line is
You need to respect that they have a job to do. And they're probably getting hundreds of people like us doing this. So to do
Do
it.
you know what? A few times we sort of turned up unannounced at the offices with samples.
They don't like that.
They don't like that. They don't like that.
Which
at all.
retailers or can you not say? Hashtag retailer X. Retailer X from Retailer Y won't have vibe in it.
But yeah, no, they really didn't like that, and that's probably an immediate blacklist.
No, potentially. And it's a good question, and we're still figuring out, honestly.
Bohemi, our beloved sponsor, are helping build the fastest growing challenger food and drink brands. Look, if you're a small brand just starting out and you need your first indie stockist, your first 100 stockists to wholesale, Bohemi are the platform to categorically speed that up. But if you're a big brand wanting to get bigger, Bohemi are also insane. They make field sales marble smooth, silky slick. They're just epic. Ollie's been on this podcast twice actually. They saw a 29% uplift in sales when using Bohemi to check major malt listings availability. Insane. 29% uplift by downloading an app. Insane. Lucky Saint, my boy Aaron Duff, who's coming on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he uses it to manage a team of 30 people, and Lucky Saint have unlocked 500 draft listings by using Bohemi. Look, you've got to get involved with this stuff. It's absolutely insane, and it will categorically change your life. It's just the sickest platform. I use it all the time at Islands. Hi guys, super quick one. So excited. Look, for years I've been badgering on about Hungry the podcast. You're probably bored to death. Thanks for putting up with me. But Hungry is also an agency, and we look after one amazing brand called Islands Chocolate. We've had a great time over the year. We've won listings at a load of wholesalers. We've won Milk and More. We've got our first grocery listing coming very soon, which is very sick. But what I'm thrilled to announce is Hungry is merging with HC Consulting. My boy Harry Clark and his wonderful team, he's an absolute G. They do brand strategy, new business and account management. But why I really love working with Harry and why we've got on so well over the last couple of months is Harry was actually the founder of the boozy isolate brand Pops. So he's been in the trenches, he's grafted his face off, he's had the sleepless nights, he's had the turmoil, he's had the triumph, he knows what it is to be a founder, he is a founder. And he's got a proven track record in grocery and out of home. Holy Moly Dips, The Gut Stuff, Savile Drinks, Remio Gelato. So if you're a brand and you're stuck, you're looking for like new business help, you're looking to scale, drop us a message, we'd love to chat. Thank you so much. Back to the old episode. But then let's talk about the pitch at the co-op and the local pub thing, because that's brilliant.
Yeah, so we eventually got down to a short list of, I think it was 30 brands.
Yeah, and this wasn't like a cold call in that traditional sense to the beer buy. This was the apiary scheme that Co-op do, so sort of incubator for new brands.
So yeah, so 30 brands invited up to Manchester to pitch, which was quite nerve-wracking. We were the first ones, I think, at 9 o'clock in the morning, turned up to their boardroom to pitch in front of, I don't know, like 20 people throughout the business. But yeah, we tried to make it as interesting and fun as possible. Just sort of very basic level, we made co-branded T-shirts, which is sort of quite cheap, effective way of just getting people on board. The deck itself we can talk about, but sort of like our mic drop moment was at the end. Sort of we'd done the presentation and we sort of said, look, thank you so much for the opportunity. To say thank you, we have managed to get our local in your local. And what we'd done the week before, we'd spoken to Ellie, who was a buyer there, and we'd sort of said to her, like, you know what, we're going to need a pint after this, Ellie. Like, what's the local pub you all drink at after work? And she told us, and we spoke to the GM there, and we were like, look, this is what we're doing with the co-op. If we chuck you a couple of free kegs, can you give us one of your taps? And they did. So we got our beer in the pub they all drink at after work. And like that mic drop moment at the end, I think it just shows that, you know, get shit done. It's creative. It's sort of a nice gesture. But also at the end of the day of pictures, they go to the pub to talk about, you know, all the brands they've seen, and they're going to be drinking our beer again.
Yeah, so just front of mind, we were trying to be there, and
Yeah, I just think also it's not. This works with getting hold of buyers or persuading buyers, but also consumers. And it's something I'm teasing out more, or I'm trying to get my head around more. Is everyone talks about the brand on draft, the brand on shelf, the packaging, but like the brand at home is super interesting as well. Like Camden have done it so well with the big glasses that they kind of want you to nick. And Beavertown have literally put a post on Instagram before saying like, oh, I hope you're glad you got the the Beavertown glasses, which is super like gorgeous to look at. Parlour toothpaste like tabs you whack up there. They wanted it. They kept thinking, what does this look like in a bathroom at home? You guys, I think this works, but that's consumer facing. But with buyers, it's like, okay, how do we think about the touch point of what the buyer's doing outside of the office, and how do we influence not just when they're at their desk, but how do we influence when they're at their local boozer? It's so clever. Do you know what I mean? I'm just thinking for people listening to this, it's like Ollie's, the famous Ollie's did it with socks.
Yeah.
Everyone wants bloody socks.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm playing with my socks, but I am. But everyone wants. When a buyer puts socks on, it's like, have a good day, buy Ollie's.
Yeah.
It's memorable, and it's thinking of the brand further than the shelf and all the tap.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, you sort of when we'd actually got through on the apiary, I think you were at Glastonbury, weren't you? And you bumped into the buyer who was wearing a local T-shirt, and it was just like, oh, that's amazing.
That's mate. If you're at Glasgow, that's make or break.
Yeah. I think she called me.
What time of day was it? Yeah.
Early afternoon.
Oh, you're fine then. Imagine it being like 6 a.m. outside. What's that nutty sort of spider thing where it's like
Arcadia.
Yeah. Hey up, fancy our beer?
Yeah.
That's jokes. What so going back to kind of advertising and that business canvas, actually let's specifically canvas, what are the learnings you took from Canvas the business that you applied to kind of the blank canvas of LoCal?
Lovely link there.
Oh, thanks, mate.
yeah, I like that.
That girl's coffee's kicking in.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's some of the lessons you're like, right, we're not going to do that. Like, that was great, that was bad. Blank canvas, let's go again.
I guess business-wise, really, is like that was that. I think we were naive. Not naive because we knew what we were getting into, but that was like it almost felt like a creative project. You know, we both had full jobs. It wasn't like that was our income. It was like we were doing it as a side hustle in evenings, sometimes at work, on the weekends.
A little bit naughty.
Yeah, a little bit guilty.
I don't think we really thought about the opportunity. We didn't look at the size of the market for artist design fashion wear. You know, whereas, you know, before we got into beer, we looked at beer and it's a £21 billion category in the UK alone. So, you know, there's a huge prize there.
Yeah, and we looked at data across the pond. I think in America, sort of the light, low calorie, better for you beer market is like 47% of the market. They love it over there. It's not as big, but in South Africa and Australia, it's like 30% of the market. And here it's under 4%. So we were sort of like, hang on there. I think there is an opportunity here. That the mindset of the Brit in retail is changing so much. I mean, people sort of want lighter, healthier options at every touch point now when they go into a shop. So we just thought there was a huge opportunity for this sector, and it just felt right to jump at it. Whereas we didn't have that thought going into the fashion thing. It just felt like that'll be fun. Like that'll be really fun.
And then what are those creative bits you put into the brand now?
In terms of the packaging, or in terms of the activations?
I think because the packaging, when I first saw it, it strikes me as one of my sort of things I'm obsessing with at the minute is this art in brands. And I think the stuff we talked about, they amalgamate nicely. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just thinking about how we've talked about.
Yeah, no.
We've talked about like how you do it with buyers and stuff, but with the actual packaging, what are the lessons you took from hanging out with artists that you applied to the packaging? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. I think from a sort of strategic place, there's traditional beers, which are very sort of male orientated, traditional heritage brands,
such as
Stella or I mean, that's just the first one that came to mind. Heineken,
Carlsberg, all of them,
Peroni, all those traditional beers, right? And then you had the craft revolution, which just totally flipped that on its head. And I think, part of the reason I fell in love with this kind of category was Camden Town Brewery. I had mates living just on that street when I think I went to the launch party sort of 10, 12 years ago, whatever. Just remember seeing that brand and being like, wow, I'd love to do something like that. But we knew we couldn't compete with craft. That is a really saturated market now. It's been going for like 15 minutes. So we were like, right, well, with 15 minutes, fucking hell, 15 years. So we knew we couldn't sort of compete with traditional.
I think you're pretty early, mate. If it's 15 minutes.
we should jump on that.
Yeah, first mover advantage, mate.
Probably still an opportunity, I reckon. So we knew we couldn't really compete on those two fronts. So we had to do something that hadn't been done, really. So we were looking at it kind of like what had happened in healthy snacking. So what had happened in the last 10 years in healthy snacking and how those brands sort of differentiated themselves. And I think it's good to look at different sectors and see what we were trying to do in beer had already kind of happened in soft drinks and healthy snacking. So what can we learn from how those brands were positioning themselves that we could take a bit of? So I think that's where we knew we wanted to be, was like, let's strip it back, keep it really simple, put some really like delicious pastel-y colours in that really surprise and delight, do something with the logo that beers aren't doing, like create a brand rather than a brewery, which I think differentiates us from craft.
What do you think, what's the difference there between brand and brewery?
Well,
like as in the mindset going into it.
Yeah, we just knew we wanted to have a pure play product, like one product, not kind of bring out 7 SKUs with it, like Brewdogs, Camden Town, Beavertowns, more like what was happening in Low and No, like Lucky Saint, really. They have one product, they do that really well. And we were just like, that's kind of where we want to be in the better for you space.
Yeah, well, as I bumped into Badman, Ollie Badman today on the way here, and we were talking about the one thing well, which is the piece de resistance for Lucky Saint. Do you know what I mean? And I think it drills into it's so easy to get pulled left, right, and centre. That's what the Astra guy was saying as well yesterday with all his jams. He had so many jams, they're kind of cannibalising each other. And it's like when you're starting out, as much as it's nice to try and be a Camden Town brewery or a Beavertown or a Brewdog, having that laser focus worked. And I think you've stolen the cues of health. But then the pastel works with it's not so out of place. It's a bit like Trip. I always talk about Trip as an example, but I remember walking around Nope, the show. Do you know Nope?
Nope.
Nope. Natural Organic Products Europe.
Okay.
At the
yeah,
exam,
yeah.
wouldn't make the way over. It's nothing that thrilling. But when CBD was just getting to the UK, and you'd walked around, it either looked like a pot farm, like everyone was like trying to do a Snoop Dogg knockoff, or it was really like look like you walk into a chemistry.
Yeah,
So it was like loads of numbers, loads of MC whatever. Trip come in, stole the cues of like wellness, calming, pastel colours.
Yeah.
Apply it to Trip, away you go. It just they've like grown that category. What do you? The UK consumer is not the US consumer, and it's not the Australian consumer, it's not the Saffas consumer. I was talking about this the other day about why hard seltzer is not really kicking off. I was speaking to Dash about this, founder of Dash.
Yeah.
Like, the US, you get one Whole Foods listing in the US, that's 250 stores. UK, it's 7 stores. So that category of retail is way bigger over there. California's 1.7 times bigger than the UK. You get one state, you get 3 states in America, like that's 5, 6, 7 times the UK. What do you think are going to be the biggest hurdles ahead with this nascent category, and you as the player in that nascent category?
That's a good question. I think with hard seltzer, and it's sort of comparable in its sort of better for you credentials, why that hasn't worked in the UK, I think it was a massive sort of gold rush when a few years ago people were looking at what was happening in America and thinking, let's do it in the UK. And I think, you had craft breweries jumping on it and making their own hard seltzers.
Really? Who made one?
Loads of them did. The market was just flooded with hard seltzers. And I think, so supply was high. And then I think we've just got a very different drinking culture in the UK. Like, for example, we've got pubs and nobody's going to a pub and ordering a hard seltzer. But we do love drinking beer.
Everyone drinks at home in the US as well, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. But as in, like, more people drink at home than they do. Like, as you say, if we're going for a drink,
Exactly.
we're like, let's go to a
we
pub.
go to the pub. Yeah.
Yeah. In the States, this is what the Athletic guys said, is it's more people consume at home.
Right. I mean, I don't know enough about the hard seltzer market, really. I think there's some great brands out there, and I'm sure there'll be some winners. Before we start trashing all the hard seltzer brands.
No, I'm not. I don't think I've got my mate Nick runs High Water. He's an absolute legend, and I think there will be winners. It's just not going to be the gold rush that people thought it was going to be back in lockdown. And also in lockdown, it was working because you had nowhere to drink. Yeah. So hard seltzers were the one because getting boozed up in a park was the only thing you could do. Like, it worked. But yeah, back to the first question about the challenges up ahead. What would you say those are with the British consumer?
Oh my god, I am so excited. It feels like Hungary is finally swimming in the big leagues. I can't believe this, it's absolutely mental. But delighted to announce that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, are part of the podcast. Perry's been on the podcast 3 times. Listeners absolutely love it. Some of our most downloaded and cherished episodes of all time. But Big Fish are behind literally so many brands in your cupboard, in your weekly shop. Charlie Bigham, Year Valley, Tyrrell's, Clipper Tea, Goo, Rana. I mean, mate, the list is longer than the River Nile. But they also share risk and invest in brands that they really believe are a force for good. They're brands that they believe are going to be the next big thing, like Howder, the snack that gives back. But even more exciting news, Big Fish want to speak to the next wave of small challenger food and drink brands that are destined for big things, the raconteurs, the movers, shakers, buccaneering visionaries. So look, if you want to speak to Big Fish and just have a chat, get your brand in front of them, then drop me a message. My mate Louis from LoCal Beer, amazing beer, was in their office, aka La Fish Bowl, last week, chatting to Perry, Freddie and the Big Fish crew. So drop me a message if you would like to speak to them.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think hard to forecast, but I think an educational piece and finding the right brand fit for them. I think people are wanting to make that change, and if you give them the option of you can drink 3 beers for the calories, the sugar, the carbs of 2, it's kind of a easy choice if you don't have to compromise on taste. So I think it's just proving the model, getting the listings, and then getting it out into people's hands, liquid on lips. What are the hurdles? Gatekeepers, I guess. One.
I think they like gatekeepers. A lot of companies, we sort of fit into their sort of ESR targets. You know, a lot of the buyers we've been speaking to from above, they've been told they need to cut calories across their range.
Provide more healthy options, better nutritional information.
So, you know, we fit into that perfectly.
I think also more people are wanting to get less buzzed on the night out now.
I think so, yeah.
Case in point is like, people have done dry January. That's grown so much that people realise that, when I go back, I don't want to get too sort of leathered. Do you know what I mean?
I think so. And we often say that we've sort of selfishly designed a beer that we want to drink.
Yeah.
You know, something that you can go to a pub with your friends, have a few pints, not get too drunk, and not consume like a Domino's pizza worth of calories at the end of it all.
That's been the battle of my life. It really has. So how can you do, like, doing keto for like 3 days and then just going and slam like a few beers? Like, just, you can't diet doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so frustrating. It really is, though.
If only there was
you guys
beer
got
for that
fast. You guys have
occasion.
got fast metabolisms, don't you? Well, I don't know. That's quite a something thing to make, but
We just drink lots of local.
the local diet. So you do the running. Run around Hampstead Heath. You scratch your own itch, which I think is brilliant. Like, create the product you want to create, because if you want it, other people probably want it. What's the first step you take? Like, you're in the pub, come up with a name, then what?
I guess making the beer.
Yeah, it was finding the right partners to develop the recipe with, wasn't it? We sort of went and met a few breweries.
So how do you go on Google? Like, what's literally the first step you do the next day?
So we got a few connections in the beer brewing world. So we already knew a few breweries.
How did you know them?
Through friends, introductions. So we went and met a number of different breweries. Found one that was the right sort of size for us, and we'd brief them on what we wanted, and
Yeah, I think that's
did they understand it? Did we vibe with them? Could we see ourselves working with them?
I think that's a good point, is that we wanted to find the right size brewery, right? That was like, we weren't going to get lost. Like, I think sometimes when you're starting out, you want to be with the best and the biggest. But actually, if you're starting out, you get lost in those partnerships. And so we wanted to find someone to sort of grow together with. So we found a sort of small to medium size.
Did anyone laugh at your idea, or any difficult conversations when you're having those initial brewery chats? Or did anyone tell you it was dumb?
No. They might have thought it, but they didn't say it.
Didn't say it to our faces.
Well, now we think they might have. Yeah.
No, but I guess that's part of the
they
process.
Say it quite literally say it's dumb.
Yeah,
It's really rude.
We picked a brewery who was excited about it.
Yeah. Who could see the potential to grow with us. That's kind of what we were looking for.
And then how do you actually go and get the product, like what you wanted? Did you take them
So we took down sort of 4 or 5 beers that we really like.
you saying they are all?
Like Neck Oil was one of them.
Meantime,
Brixton, Low Voltage. We didn't want it to be a lager. We definitely wanted it to be a pale ale, because, if you take away some of the body from a lager, what you're left with is a very watery beer. Whereas with a pale ale, you can sort of compensate by adding hops and giving it a bit more flavour.
I think that was our biggest sort of problem at the start, was how do you convince people this isn't going to be a sacrifice on taste? So,
What's the percentage of pale ale drinkers to lager drinkers in the UK?
I'm not sure the exact percent, but it's not as big for sure. It's maybe like, I don't know,
I don't know off the top of my head.
But I think lager's the largest category, but
Yeah.
pale ale's the fastest growing.
Right. Okay. And then would you ever go into a lager? I know I'm just asking. This is interesting because,
Yeah.
as you were saying, how it's big enough for, like I completely get it, but like the category in the UK is mainly a lager drinker, isn't it? I think.
It is, yeah, it is. We can do. It is an option, but our strategy is one SKU, do one SKU and do it really well.
Yeah. And then we've kind of touched upon, I think it was really interesting when you guys said about how much research you'd done. Sort of look at the canvas, as it were, and see where the gap is. In terms of actually getting this going, what's been the strategy, year 1, year 2, of this is how we're going to build a beer brand or a local beer brand?
So strategy is always been sort of London first and predominantly London on trade. So we launched earlier in the year. We did our sort of proper launch into the London on trade, into a number of pubs. So it's sort of following in the footsteps of your Camden Town, your Beavertown, your Brixtons, who all built up a brand in the London on trade.
And then what do you do? Do you just go and how do you get it? How do you get a new beer brand on tap?
Yeah,
because getting on shelf is bloody hard. Getting a product in an indie shelf is really hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of pounding the street. It's a lot of going to meet independent pubs. There's a lot of pub chains out there that you have to go to the sort of like top ops manager. So we saw the low hanging fruit as like the independents. Let's go and introduce ourselves, get friendly with them, introduce them to the product, tell them why it's a good fit. That can take from that point to getting on tap can be sort of a week. It could be a few months, but you've got to put in those hard yards, and we're still doing it. Look, we're out tomorrow all day.
Feet on the street.
Yeah, and we've got a few really great partners that have just supported us from the start, and now we're trying to get into a few bigger
Sort of groups.
Yeah.
So we recently got a listing in Metropolitan Pubs, which is the premium arm of Green King. And that's a slightly different process. That is, you have to go to the ops director of the company, almost like you'd approach a sort of retail buyer, get their attention, get them to try it, and then they sort of give you the green light to start speaking to the pubs in their network.
How do you build the relationship once you've got it on tap? And actually, first step, what do you say to get it on tap? Like you walk in, and I think the fact you're founders, as we were talking about on the train to Manchester, is a massive, whatever that is.
Bonus.
That's
Bonus. Yeah. Boon.
I think that's a word, isn't it?
Boon.
A boon? Like a
boon.
good thing?
I don't know. But anyway, what are you saying to get it on tap? Because there's literally 6 taps.
Yeah, and that is it's interesting. I mean, there'll usually be sort of a set of taps, right? Which will be 4 will be, one will be Guinness, 1 will be Heineken, Amstel, Foster's, whatever they're serving. Then you'll have the craft beers. Then you might have a couple of local, rotational taps, and then alternate taps. It depends. I mean, some of them are tied to bigger companies where they can't change that. You just have to find out, really. You just have to ask some questions. We usually come in and are like, one, can I speak to the GM? Because, when we first started, we were talking to bar staff who didn't have any power either way. So,
And weren't interested.
Yeah, we're like, I'm washing glasses, mate. Can you piss off? Just find the person that's going to make the decision. And then, my technique is usually like, have you got 2 minutes? Before, first up, don't start selling because they're just going to sort of want to leave. So they can give you a couple of minutes to go and maybe sit down, make them try it. That's always
always go with cold cans. Get them to try it on the spot because we back the liquid that if they do try it, they're going to love it. And then
That's a really good point, actually, in terms of with Islands, we've done the same thing, or Ned's done the same thing, and I did the same thing at Moneylife. Is if you can shorten the distance from someone looking at your product to trying it, like the percentage of conversion sounds really businessy, goes through the roof. And it's if you take a step back, it's like, yeah, we're in the business of food and drink, mate. Of course, people have to try it.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times.
And also, like, you leave cans or products, it just gets, because there's about 15 other reps coming through.
That's what I was going to say. There's been a couple of times in the last couple of weeks where I've gone in, smashed it, been like, oh, they loved that, like they really got it, and I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot to open the can. It's just going in their fridge now. They're never going to try that. And I just like, smack my head, and I'm like, oh,
how much does your sales pitch to pubs change from your first pub you went into to sell to now?
I think you probably just get better at it, right?
Confidence,
Just more
know what doesn't
confidence.
work.
That's what I'm trying to say.
don't
What
go
doesn't
in-
work? Like, what did you say?
Just going in like with a hard sell. Like,
Hello, mate.
"Hello, mate, this is local, it's low calorie beer," and just sort of listing off all of the sort of, what's great about it. You've got to build a rapport with them.
How?
I think
Well, it depends. Like every GM's different. Honestly, you kind of got to like try and find out what they're into. Some GMs love beer, and that's why they've got into the business, and they love bringing in new beers and learning all about it. Others are just maybe they're more into the food. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they hate.
or more commercial.
Yeah, more
Then
commercial.
you sort of talk about bringing, people who don't normally drink beer into the category and bringing in new business for them that way.
And what else were you getting wrong in those initial pitches?
Well, we're not salesmen. We haven't
Speak for
come.
yourself.
Oh yeah, well, he's a natural.
You're a creative, mate. You've told us enough times, son.
But that sort of cold calling is like, we haven't done that before. So
What was
you've
it?
got
Were
to
you
learn.
nervous going into the first pub?
I hated it.
Yeah, talk me through that feeling, because I like, this is why I
hated
love
it.
speaking to brands who are like doing it, and I've done that like before, and I love like it's.
The first-
I'm touching
yeah,
full blown
yeah.
touching cloth. Do you know what I mean?
The
For,
first
like,
sort of
Wait, I don't think it's ever gone that far.
really,
the first sort of,
you're not trying hard enough, mate.
Really got to strain.
Yeah.
Okay.
like the
That's what I
first
look
sort
for. I
of
look for my
20
sales teams. Are you touching cloth?
Get out.
Yeah, get out. You're not touching cloth. Be gone. Yeah, but go on. Talk to me about that, because there'll be a lot of people listening to this who have a sick brand, have a sick idea, know that you know. So I think that people overlook the value of going out on the street for the indies. The volume of an independent is tiny. Yes, we understand that. But the lessons you get in building rapport super quickly, the lessons you get in resilience when it's freezing cold and you guys like on line bike tomorrow in November, and you've got no business because you're creatives. Do you know what I mean? No, I'm joking. but like the lessons in resilience, if you can sell to an independent deli where the shopkeeper's opportunity cost is, do I buy this case of local beer for 20 quid, whatever it is, or take my daughter ice skating on Christmas, the opportunity cost is much higher, so it's a much harder sell. It basically is the foundations for when you go to a retailer and sit in Tesco's office. It's a much easier sell. Well, it's a not much easier sell, but you get my point. So, and I think you talking us through this first pub will really help listeners who are like scared of going on Google and saying, okay, which Italian deli wants my hazelnut spread?
Yeah, like the first sort of 10, 20, 30 pubs you do, like you don't know what you're doing. You go in like you're so stiff. You're like, hello, can I speak to the beer buyer, please? Like you're awkward. You just want to get it over with as quickly as possible.
And a lot of them are jokers. Like, they can smell it as soon as you come in and you're too formal or too. So they'll just take the piss out of you, and you've lost it immediately. Like I think there was an early one where you came in, stuck your hand out to sort of shake their hand, and went, "Hi, Louis Collin," and they just laughed in your face, and it was like, "All right, we're never doing that again." Okay.
I had a bit of a horror story. So I walked into the shop, and it was really awkward, and I was like absolutely shitting myself for like full blown touching cloth. And I sort of, when you walk in, you can see that the manager's busy, so you sort of just do a bit of a loop, like, I'll check out your pineapples and your mangoes. Anyway, so some other guy walked around the corner, and I just thought, it was it was another manager, or it might have been the owner. So I ended up talking to this bloke for ages, and I was like, oh, well, that's like a bit of a winner. And then I gave him some samples, and I walked out. And as I was walking out, the main woman sort of looked at me and was like, "You absolute idiot!" Yeah. Basically, I just
Wrong person.
just some random bloke in the shop buying.
Didn't even work there.
Didn't even work
That's
there.
amazing.
Yeah. So basically, he just got 2 like samples, yeah, and I walked out like basically just had to put on some Magic FM just to chill out. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, but these are, I love these bits because it's like it gives you so much.
I think you've just got to do it. Like, there's no sort of easy way. You've got to put yourself through those awkward moments.
And there's going to be more that comes.
Oh, it's gonna be hundreds of
tomorrow. There's going to
Yeah.
the one that we always laugh at is like you come in and it's like 11:30, no one's in there, just one bartender, and you're like, "Can I speak to the GM?" They go downstairs.
Yeah, they're in a meeting.
Come back. They're in a meeting, and we're like, "Yeah, what meeting could they be having?" Okay, we'll wait. We'll stick around for half an hour or something. And he's like, "I think you better go." And we're like, "Right."
Oh, the best is when you go, "Can I speak to the GM or the manager?" And they sort of look at you like, "You absolute idiot! I'm the assistant GM." Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like David Bennett, assistant to the regional manager. Yeah. And it's like, oh god, because you don't want. In fact, I don't ask that. I try and just sell to them. That's the learning I've learned, is not to actually ask for the GM.
Yeah.
That's different from. It's different in pubs, I think. But like in an independent store, like down the road, often you don't. You want to. What I learned is you want to speak kindly to everyone, because actually you're not influencing that GM. You're influencing every single person in that store.
Yeah.
So when they have their buyers meeting, if you've been really kind to the people and really sound to the people on the shop floor, when they have that meeting, they'll be like, right.
Yeah.
Those guys will sound like, let's listen, almost creating like a web of influence and like osmosis, and just being nice to those people.
It's so nice when that goes well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than someone like walking in and then just be like, "Oh, can I speak to the general manager?" And the general manager comes out, it's like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah.
Hey. Like, I don't know, but like, you know what I mean?
No, but I have done that where you know you've gone in and you've spoken to someone that has no buying power or clue, and maybe it's their first day on the job, and then you go, okay, well, I'm going to
You've
change.
got no buying power or clue.
Yeah. No, but they're just like, I don't know, I've just started working here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I've just been speaking for 10 minutes. I was like, I should have.
The worst is
figured
when
that out.
you
And
like
then-
you know you've got like it's a mental resource, this game of like go door to door, is when you use a lot of wax lyrical energy, and then they're like, "Okay, yeah, thanks, I'll go and get the manager." I'm like, "Oh, for
Yeah.
I have to go again now, reload." Do you know what I mean?
But then you take that learning and you
Yeah.
go into the next place and you come in and you immediately say, "Oh, hi, can I speak to general manager?" And yeah, they can either take offence to that, like, "Oh, I'm not important to you." So you've got to adapt each time we're learning. Like, we're making mistakes, we're adapting.
What's been the hardest but most beneficial piece of feedback you guys have got from pubs?
Ooh.
In terms of what? Pitching to them?
Everything.
Yeah, you get some new trainers, mate. That crep game's awful, mate. Crep game. No, but I think there's no other. The other thing we're talking about. Why is selling to indies valuable? Resilience, getting rapport. Resilience, rapport. Do 3 R's here. Real time feedback. You know?
Love that. Yeah.
The 3 R's of selling. Yeah.
One for the next newsletter.
Yeah. The 3 R's, real time feedback. But the real time feedback is good because it's like a pub landlord is way more willing to be like that shit. I'm not saying it is, but versus someone else.
Oh yeah, it's not for some people. I'm trying to think of good feedback we've had, which has been. What was the
I mean,
question?
some pubs
Like
you go into.
what feedback's been really good and been like, right, okay, we actually need to take this on board.
I think, some pubs you go into and they're like, "Look, it's just not for us. This is an old man's drinking boozer. They're not going to be interested in what you're selling."
Yeah, and you do get that with the independents a lot because they're just independent local pubs.
And then, next time you see one, you're like, "Look, there's probably no point in us going into that pub."
Yeah, and you go in and you look at the taps, and usually that is the first thing we do is like, where could we possibly sit here? If you're seeing those certain beers, which are just like your traditional haven't changed for 20 years type beers, then
But yeah, if you're
we won't
seeing
be
sort of
playing
like
there.
your Neck Oil, like your Lucky Saint, your Jubel, you know, that's somewhere.
where they want to try new things and they have a
Yeah.
consumer base that wants to try new things as well.
How's it been getting into these little groups or these groups? How does that work?
It's more like a sort of traditional retail buyer. In that,
how does the pitch change though? Do you know what I mean? Or does it change?
I guess, you know, it starts like by emailing or cold calling them, LinkedIn, getting their attention, and then you use the data from your independents to say, look, we're in so and so pub, and we're in some really amazing independent pubs which are sort of incredibly well known across London. So you sort of say, I'm in X and Y, and we're doing
Where's X and Y?
say like Faltering Fullback in Finsbury Park,
Yeah,
which was actually our first pub.
Oh, is that the one? That's your local that you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, the one, it's up in Finsbury Park's great pub.
But
they've supported us.
everyone knows that pub. Everyone loves that pub. So you say that, you're automatically like, okay, like you're actually the real deal.
You're in the Starman, aren't you? David Bowie's pub.
That's another one, yeah.
I'm going there next week with the old money lot.
You're going to
Right.
get them drinking.
Yeah, I'm going to get them on the G-Bells, mate.
It's a good beer.
What else? I want to talk about the local, the LoCal, low calories, LoCal communities, local boozer. And we were talking on our walk to Gales just now about about how you're going to build the brand out. And I think some of the ways you're doing it is super interesting. Do you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
look, it's I mean,
He just pitched this to me like,
yeah, this is
we
not
started.
in cement at all, but this is just, we're constantly coming up with ways that we could. I think we were talking to Freddie from Big Fish, and he was giving some really great advice where he was like, look, you guys have done a really good job with the logo and the name and the look and feel and the positioning, but in the next few years you might find that you're going to need to build out that community and create that moat of like ardent fans, and I think that's going to be our
Moat of ardent fans.
Yeah, not my words.
Yeah, but that is gorgeous.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah. But and so that's going to be our big focus. Well, my purpose, being the sort of brand marketing, that's going to be what we're going to need to build out. And with that, it's time, effort, money, partnerships, strategy. So that's ongoing currently, but we're just sort of playing around with where we want to sit and who our people are. And I think we know who they are. It's just how we target them and why and where. Because we're a brand that we've gone completely anti-category. We're like, let's not. I think we found a stat like, what is it? I'm plucking this off the top of my head, but it's something like 46% of women are put off beer because of the high calorie content, and then like 38 are put off by the male orientated branding. And I think we've kind of done that job. So we want to be definitely playing in that space and taking on a much less traditional, what you think of as a beer drinker. That's not our audience. If they want to drink our beer, that's great. But I think that sort of, by the position of our brand, that's given our strategy for who our audience is. And now we're just working out the best ways to get them involved in a genuine way that feels true to us. We started as a running club.
Talk about the local comedy things.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like this. One of the things I want to talk about on this today is, and why I'm loving speaking to you guys is, you've only got like 3 in a custom.
no, but it's true. We're already on.
I speak to some brands and founders who've done that, but all the new learnings are coming from the buccaneering brand starting out, and I think you guys are I think you're destined for big things. Perfect Ted, like when it spoke to them, they're ripping up the rule book. Like they've employed someone to be a full-time film the whole journey. Was on like a full-blown salary. Like that's a new way of thinking about brand building. You don't get these.
They do that for like an Amazon doc or something like in the future,
not for an Amazon doc.
sort of how to build a brand. It's quite an interesting idea.
It's a really interesting idea, but it's more about. Well, that could be the case. Like they're not trying to fly and sell it, but like
no, but maybe in like a few years if it's been.
But more that their point is people want to see something different, and there's an obsession with a bit like pulling this through your lens. Like there's an obsession in the States and probably the UK with keeping up with the Kardashians, Only Way is Essex, Made in Chelsea, all that stuff. That's become a thing. People have become kind of addicted to reality TV. Is there a way, and he learnt this from Stephen Bartlett, to build a brand and have like a behind the scenes which adds so much depth? Everyone venerates brand awareness, but brand depth is like,
I mean, I think it's something,
and also it's just sick to look back on. Like I wish I did it.
Yeah.
And if you're getting somebody to watch sort of a 15-minute behind the scenes YouTube video, you know, that is real brand depth. That's their attention for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's,
That's why we've decided to come on this stupid podcast.
Yeah. Back at you, boy.
No, it's a great point, and I'm already.
Shut up, mate. Edit that out.
I'm nervous to even talk about it genuinely, because like showing behind the curtain, you know, the sausage in the
sausage behind the curtain.
What do you call it? Like what goes into the sausage? I mean, we're slightly older, I think, than the Perfect Ted guys probably, and I'm still like, I want to keep stuff back until it's like ready to go out into the world. So
there's no right way to build a brand. There's no right way to build a brand, and I think. But let's talk about the comedy things, and this may not work.
Sure, yeah.
But we talked a lot about lead and gold at the beginning. This could be lead, it could be gold, but it would be sick to look back on if I fancy publishing this in a couple of years' time. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting piece because you don't want to be pulled into the low calories.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, you know, it's a constant conversation between us in terms of where our brand sits, and, you know, we started out as a run club, like not a sort of tough mudder, like let's do a marathon run club. It was just a casual, let's meet up in the park and go on a fight.
Let's have an excuse to have a pint.
Yeah, basically, yeah, like let's go on a run and have a pint. But, so, you know, naturally our first thought was, well, we should be doing local run clubs. And I think we still will. Because that is genuine to our brand, but I don't think we can own that space. You know, Lucky Saint are doing great run club stuff. I think there's loads of other beer brands. Athletic Brewing, exactly, which is sort of just in their name. It just makes sense for them. So, yeah, it is like looking behind the curtain right now. So I think we will do some stuff with run clubs, but it'll never be intense. It will always be community based and localized and end in beers. You know, some fantastic small run clubs that we'd love to get involved in and are talking to and are going to do some activations in the new year with. But yeah, I just don't think we have the capacity, the authority to really like own that at this stage and that be our audience. I think there's other brands that are going to do that better. So I think we need to have a hard look at ourselves and be like, is that where we're going to play? As you say, like I have a comedy background, worked for a few comedy production companies in my early days, know some comedians pretty well. And I was just thinking, you know, what beer is owning comedy right now? I mean, maybe Foster's did 10 years ago, but that's not the sort of comedy I think we want to be associated with. It's more of a inclusive, forward-thinking, you know, space that I think we could truly own, and actually it feels genuine to where we want to be, and it feels genuine to our brand. You know, it's very light, it's cloudy, it's fun, it doesn't take itself too seriously. I was literally just pitched it like in the last 2 days, so we're not sure. I'm just building out the kind of strategy of, I think,
it's really exciting, and like this next phase is going to be a lot of fun. I think, you know, up until this point, me and James have been sort of part-time on this. It's been like evenings and weekends. It's only in the last sort of 2 months that we've actually gone full-time on it. And this sort of next phase, and part of that is who are we as a brand? Like, what is that occasion to own? And like stuff like this is really exciting.
Yeah, then you have a big right. You have a big idea, right? Which is like, we want to be the brand of comedy. So right, we're gonna have ambassadors that are local comedians. We're gonna sponsor local comedy nights. We're gonna have distribution in places where comedy is like a really big thing. We're gonna have ambassadors that come and help us do our content. We're gonna sponsor a tent at Latitude. We'll go up to the Fringe. Suddenly, when you have a big idea, you can start to slot in all the activations to make that make sense. I don't know if this is going to be our thing, but it feels quite exciting.
Also, I think you don't want to be. You want to really clearly set who you are, and I think although you started with run clubs, I think the run club sets a message. I think we're talking about going this back to the British consumer. People won't buy, and this is just my musings.
Yeah,
musings. That's why I was saying it. But I think with our culture, saying, I'm getting a low-calorie beer, that's a much heavier lift than I'm getting a beer so I don't get as zombie, I call it zombie mode, where you're just like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and as you were saying earlier, like...
You've got two benefits to push here. It's either push the benefit of low-calorie, which is great, but it is way more female-dominated, or push the benefit of, like, almost buzz without getting battered. It's not the tagline you're going for. But case in point, as we were saying, my brother went to watch Kevin Bridges the other day, got absolutely rag ass, couldn't really remember the jokes. No, then I went to see Ricky Gervais the other day, obviously I'm sober at the minute, was stone cold sober, remembered all the jokes. And I think that's a really clear way to show, like, the reason you buy local is so you remember the jokes or remember the night. I think there's a lot of legs in that.
No, I think it's great. We were talking about that earlier. You mentioned that, and I was like, oh, that's a genius way to sell that into a promoter, GM, whoever's running that comedy night, who have a problem with hecklers or hen nights that come in, or stag do's, who are just like ruining the evening for people. So if we can provide a drink where they can drink more, where it's 3.8 and less %, then they're not going to get as drunk so quickly and not going to sort of be as disruptive. So it kind of makes sense in that space. But look, we don't know yet.
No, but mate, it's super interesting. And also I've written about this, and a lot of brands do it, is you find a slipstream channel. And a slipstream channel, do you know what a slipstream is? Like when you're surfing, the slipstream will pull you out faster. It's like everyone's playing here. Every brand has a slipstream that you just find, it pulls you out. The obvious one is Piper's Crisps. Every crisp brand was trying to go into grocery. They focused on speciality, so farm shops, delis, built a huge brand there, and then went into grocery. No one was really backing. Obviously, it's now obvious you go to a farm shop, buy crisps. It wasn't back then. Simply Roasted are very crispy right now.
Totally, and I think to that point, like, I can't remember who said that to us, but when you're this early, you've got no money, you've got no resources, you're just like need to be laser focused what you're doing. Your distribution is your marketing. So they told a story with their distribution, right? Where it's like, well, we're craft, we're organic, we're in farm shops, and then their distribution becomes their marketing platform.
Yeah, I think the comedy thing is brilliant. What's been the worst day?
The worst day,
other than today. Sorry for boring you so much.
We had quite a disastrous soft launch party. So this is sort of way back when, just when we were sort of started. We had a beer that we really liked, a recipe that we really liked, and we're selling in a few pubs as a soft launch, getting feedback. And then we decided that, right, it's time to do this properly. Let's do a soft launch, get all of our friends and family down to this pub. And it was a pub called the Trafalgar in Greenwich.
Brilliant pub.
Oh, it's an awesome pub.
One of the best pubs I've ever been to.
Yeah, and we were on tap there. And it's an absolute monster pub. It does huge volumes. So we're like, right, this is our launch party. Got sort of 100 friends and family down there to celebrate the launch. We got there a little bit early, had a first pint, it was all going very smoothly, and then they got some new kegs in from a new batch, and something had happened in the brewing of the beer. I think they hadn't filtered it properly, so there's sediment left in the beer. Started pouring, and it was coming out like Mr. Whippy ice cream. It was just all foam, and from that point on, we couldn't pour a pint of our beer.
Oh my god!
And you know, you have your friends and family turning up and saying, "Can I try the beer? Can I try the beer?" I'm just like, "Oh, we're just changing the line." Ended up blocking about 4 of the pub's lines as well, so they were furious with us. And
Yeah, it was a disaster.
lost that account, and that's like a 20 grand a year account. It was
You lost that account.
Of course, like it was a massive fuck up.
We came down, it was 100 people probably going to have like a few pints each. That would have been a huge weekend for them. So they were right behind us, and then nothing. And everyone we brought down to celebrate and take photos and stuff had nothing. And we're like, why the hell have you brought us to Greenwich?
It was like
It's the most
proper disaster.
It's the most stressed I've ever seen Louis.
Yeah, because you guys are both chillers.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine
Yeah,
either of you getting stressed.
I was stressed.
What does Louis' stress look like?
Just walking around with a beetroot face, just like not, imagine 100 of our friends and family constantly trying to talk to
mate.
us and us trying to fix stuff, and then it became a joke that we were called. We weren't called local, we were called nocal, because we had no beer on tap. So yeah, that
Fortunately, we did bring a load of cans down as sort of gift bags. So like,
But what's that feel like in here?
Oh, like just your tummy going round and round, and it's horrid. It's a horrible feeling.
You just feel like a joke.
You feel like a joke.
Feel like a joke, finally.
Yeah.
Feel like a
Or just-
disappointment.
Yeah, naive, like silly. Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
Silly is
like,
such a good word.
yeah.
I love
parents were there, and like, yeah, it was.
lovely day in the end, but no beer.
And the funny thing is, like, everybody had a great day, like, apart from us. Everyone who came down there, we still like saw a load of friends, and everybody got like a nice little gift bag, so they did get to try the beer. But yeah, it was.
People still talk about it, don't they? Yeah, it's
the LoCal day was.
Yeah. Remember?
That's jokes.
And now we try and bring people to events, and they're like, after last time.
Yeah. One thing I want to get your advice on is I'm trying to get Marcus Waring on this podcast.
Okay.
I feel this is very like American. Like, I'm trying to manifest it,
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But I'm thinking of creative ideas of how to potentially get hold of him. So his restaurant shuts in Belgravia. No, not Belgravia. No, the Berkeley in Mayfair. Shuts end of Christmas. What are creative ways of getting hold of him? I've managed to get a nibble from the PR lady. And that's going well. Like, that's what I've heard so far.
Why is it shutting?
He's moving on to new ventures.
What's his new venture?
I don't know.
Sorry, so he's stopping restauranting.
He's stopping, not restauranting. Restaurant.
Is that a word? I don't know.
Yeah, restauranting.
Restauranting.
But trying to get his attention. We've talked about getting the menu and like writing a note in the same copy or typography of the menu.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I could borrow from your creative genius brains?
Well, I guess work back. What's the end result? What do you want out of it? An interview?
A podcast.
Podcast.
Conversation. He's from Southport,
Okay.
which is where my mum's from, Merseyside, and he's into boxing. So I was thinking of getting a massive boxing glove,
Yeah, that's nice.
saying if the interview's shit, you can punch around the face. I don't know. But just something to get their attention. Get their attention.
Get their attention. Or on the spot.
What do like chefs like?
Yeah, I think sometimes
Maybe
your
like
first
some-
thought stuff is good. So aprons, anything kitcheny.
Chef
Take
hats.
two ideas and merge them together is usually quite a nice way.
Do you reckon we could do like a leaving apron?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, to borrow your expertise on that.
We'll have a sesh.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a few final things I want to wrap up on. What's one thing you wish you'd known at the beginning of your journey, like when you were in that pub in Hampstead?
What's one thing we'd know? I mean, that's such a hard question. We're learning every day. We're making
Yeah,
mistakes
yeah.
every day, genuinely.
What have been the biggest learnings then?
Oh my god, what a question! Like, it's a roller coaster. Like, we constantly talk about. We had a day, I think on Tuesday, like 3 things fell through, and I was like,
You were miserable.
I was miserable. I was like in that headspace of like, what are we doing? This is a night. How are we going to grow this? And then the next day we had 3 things go really well, and I was like, oh no, I'm back on top again. I'm a wreck at the moment.
How do you deal with the bipolarism of building brands?
I think you've just got to love it. You've got to love the day to day. If you don't enjoy that process, then it's not for you.
What do you love about it so much?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a little bit sick in the head, but I almost enjoy the problem solving. Like, you get so much shit thrown at you, so many problems. It's like, all right, how are we going to solve
What's
this
been the
one?
biggest problem? Other than the no call.
The no call, like
so much,
getting
every
costs down, like getting your margins up, and
making sure the consistency of the brew's right, and going down and testing it, and making
Like
sure
your-
your contacts are
your
constantly
van-
being updated. And
like your van driver, his van breaks down, and you've got a load of kegs that you need to deliver to like your loyal customers. And the brewery's down in Croydon, so there's so many times I've had to like nick my mum's Vauxhall Astra, drive down to Croydon at 5 o'clock in the morning, pick up a load of kegs and do the deliveries, which is a ball ache, but
What
it's
do you
all
love
part
about
of
that? What do you love about the pain of these problems?
Well,
Just getting through them, solving them.
it's for us. It's not for anyone else as well. Like, it's not like if
Yeah.
Louis had a boss and was like, you've got to go down 5 a.m. and pick up, he'd be livid. But it's our business, so he takes that as like, well, no one else is going to do it. So there's a sense of pride in that, and self motivation is kind of what gets us through the day. And plus, that there's 2 of us, so it helps to, and a third, but we don't talk about him. It helps to have each other's support massively, and we meet a lot of founders. It's such a lovely community. But the solo founders, I like, wow, they're so impressive. I couldn't do it on my own. Really, I couldn't. It would crush me. I don't think I'd have the mental strength to get through a kind of couple of months of it.
What's been the biggest argument you've had?
Do you know what? It's weird. We don't really argue. When he was getting a little bit down on Tuesday, I was a little bit like, come on, James. Yeah, fucking...
What does
Pick
down
yourself
and
up.
James look like?
just a little bit stroppy, and like, right, I'm trying to get him up for it. I was like, right, let's come on. This new pub's going to be great. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, if it was like the last one, it won't be.
Just kicking out at everyone. Yeah, hating everyone. Yeah, I can also love days when I'm good. I can love everyone, but yeah.
Yeah, I just think you've got to realise that it's the rough with the smooth, and that you appreciate the good days because of the bad days. I know that sounds so...
But it's true.
It's true.
And yeah, just generally doing it together is the fun of it.
Yeah, let's wrap that up and get some dinner. I thought that was so much fun.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you so much, boys.
Thank you, Dan.